Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise tonight to pursue a question I initially asked in question period late last year, December 2nd of 2021. I asked, the question ended up with the Minister of Fisheries. This topic that I'm going to raise again tonight crosses several different departments federally. At its core, it's about environmental racism. It's about illegal dumping of toxic waste on Mohawk territory. It would not be allowed. I can't imagine any non-indigenous or black community, because we do have an environmental racism problem in this country. My private member's bill, Bill C-226, I hope will be passed soon, and it's a non-partisan effort to make sure the federal government adopts a strategy to deal with environmental racism, as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has done for decades. But to this specific example, the Mohawk territories of Kanesatake, this was my question December 2nd, has a toxic waste dump. It has been leaking harmful chemicals. It also affects wildlife and fish. And it is not as though the government has not said something about it. There was a directive delivered to the toxic waste facility from the federal government November 18th, 2020, to call for the toxic waste site to be cleaned up and for the dumping of toxic waste to stop. I asked the government, could the minister update us on what is being done to remove the toxic waste facility from Kanesatake? The answer came from the Honourable Minister for Fisheries. I think her answer was sound, but we didn't have the details. The minister said disposing of waste in this matter is dangerous to people, to the fish habitats and fish, and we will hold any individuals, to quote unquote, we will hold any individuals who violate this act to account. Well, Madam Speaker, as things progress, it's clear that the illegal dumping continues. The province of Quebec allowed dumping outside the confines of the specific permit that was given in 2015 for a recycling, that was what it was originally licensed for, a recycling landfill. The province of Quebec gave that permit to G&R Recycling in 2015, and by 2016 the complaints had begun. They continued as residents nearby smelled toxic and nauseating fumes and became sickened by these fumes. Finally, in September 2020, the province of Quebec revoked the license. And again, is an evidence of environmental racism. It wasn't until the black ooze from this toxic waste facility began seeping onto settler culture farms outside of the Mohawk community that the province took action. But the federal government is still looking at a situation where at this point, and these figures are just astonishing, Madam Speaker, this facility was licensed for storing up to 27,800 cubic meters of waste. It now has 400,000 cubic meters of waste, or 15 times what it was originally licensed for. Madam Speaker, this is not something that should be tolerated. The community of Kanesatake is calling out for justice. As Chief and former RC MP investigator, Jeremy Tomlinson, has said, look, you've got these facilities being built, people are paying to haul the waste away, and quote, he said, instead of getting rid of it at a designated site, they're dumping it here. Think about it. They're building on land that was stolen from us and dumping on what little land we have left. People have had enough. And Madam Speaker, I'm hoping in late show we can get to some solutions for this community.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank my friend and colleague from Saanich Gulf Islands for her remarks and the question. And perhaps I'll start, Madam Speaker, by noting that Environment and Climate Change Canada is well aware of the issue and is working with Kanesatake Bands Council, Indigenous Services Canada, and the Government of Quebec to resolve the situation. GNR Recycling, SENC, is a Mohawk company operating since 2015 as a sorting center for construction and demolition materials on Kanesatake territory under a Band Council resolution and a certificate of authorization issued by the province. Over the past 3 years, Environment and Climate Change Canada and Indigenous Services Canada have provided support to Kanesatake Mohawk Council's Environment Office to help the community address environmental issues on its territory. As part of this support, in April 2020, at the request of the Band Council, Environment and Climate Change Canada provided assistance to the Kanesatake Environment Office to carry out the environmental site assessment of G&R recycling. Following complaints of a discharge of water into a water body next to the G&R site in 2020 and subsequent inspections, Environment and Climate Change Canada enforcement officers issued a direction under the Fisheries Act to G&R recycling on November 18th, 2020, with respect to the discharges of deleterious substances into waters frequented by fish. Since the issuance of the direction, Environment and Climate Change Canada enforcement officers have completed at least 3 follow-up inspections at the site, the latest of which was less than 2 weeks ago. To date, the inspections have found that the company is complying with the requirements of the direction. The company was also subject to a series of enforcement actions under the Quebec Environment Quality Act that culminated in March 2020, when the province issued a ministerial order directing G&R to immediately cease the deposit of residual materials and return the site to its original state. As my colleague, the Minister of Fisheries and Oceans, mentioned during question period on December 2nd, the protection of fish habitat and prevention of pollution in fish-bearing waters is a priority for our government. The administration of the Fisheries Act allows us to achieve that goal. The Fisheries Act contains specific provisions for the protection of waters where fish live, and the administration of these were entrusted in 1978 to the Minister of the Environment. Environment and Climate Change Canada officials will continue to work with all parties to verify ongoing compliance with federal environmental legislation at this facility. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
If only any of that was true, and I have great respect to the Parliamentary Secretary, but the illegal dumping is continuing, and the whole tenor of the Parliamentary Secretary's answer was, don't worry, nothing to look at here. We have illegal dumping continuing. It's now being, as the dump site itself has been closed, there are constant reports of illegal late-night dumping near the homes of people in the Mohawk community. There also needs to be a cleanup. It probably will cost in the neighborhood of $35 million. We need to get on with it. And yes, I know Environment and Climate Change is well aware of this issue. As the Parliamentary Secretary said, they've been aware since 2019. And as the people of this community are saying, enough is enough. We must respect UNDRIP. We must recognize that this is Indigenous territory. We must make sure that everything we do is following the lead of this community. But it's clear the illegal dumping continues and the illegal waste sits there. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, again, Madam Speaker, I want to thank the honourable member for her passionate remarks, which I appreciate, and just stress again that the monitoring of the direction with the cooperation of the regulated party has made it possible to contain surface waters and prevent their discharge into the environment. Temporary surface water treatment solutions have been deployed. Pumping as needed and ex situ treatment of contaminated water, for instance, pending the results of environmental assessments aimed at formulating longer-term solutions. These solutions are now known and are in the process of being implemented. Continued monitoring is planned to ensure that surface water from the G&R recycling SCNC site no longer contravenes the Fisheries Act. Again, I appreciate the honourable member's comments this evening.